Hey guys, it's me, Rhonda. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, thank you for stopping by and taking a peek at this video, and just a sweet hello to all my friends out there. I wanted to do a quick little Bible review on this Bible that I have. I actually was looking online and I did not see many. I don't even know if I landed on a review of this Bible, but anyway, I thought I would just do a quick one because I was just flipping through it and I thought to myself, you know what? Somebody needs to see this today, so I'm going to share it. The reason I pulled it off was because someone in one of the Bible groups that I frequent, I love looking at other people's Bibles. I just love the Bible. But anyway, someone had asked the question about what would be a good Bible for someone, a new Christian, that was like a devotional Bible. So I immediately started kind of thinking, I don't know, there's so many good ones out there, but this particular one was for a gentleman. And I thought, you know what? Let me flip through this one. And sure enough, you guys, this one is this is a good Bible for beginners, I think, because it actually has the scripture along with a devotion on the inside. So let me just break the suspense. Dun, dun, dun. This is the Everyday Gospel Bible by Crossway. It's the ESV translation. And this is a book. This is Bible is the ESV translation. This is not the updated one. So this is the 2001 text that's in here. And I'm just going to flip through it because most of us that have Bibles, we know what the contents are. In the beginning, you're going to get the books of the Bibles, books of the Bible. You're going to get an introduction to what the ESV actually is, what that translation is. This intro is written by David Paul Tripp because that's who has written the devotionals. So that's why I was drawn to this book, because you guys that follow me know that I just finished New Morning Mercies back in April. His devotion was so good. It always landed. Every single morning when I read his devotional, it always landed. And so when I saw that this Bible was edited and the devotions were from David Paul Tripp, I had to go ahead and get it. So anyway, this was written January of 2024. This is kind of like the introduction. This is the preface, I'm sorry, for the actual text of the English standard version, and how they translate, what takes place in their translations of the Bible, what their philosophy is. I don't know if any of you are like me, but I always like to read through these anytime I start a new translation, because every year I try to read a new translation. Like this year I'm reading through the CSB, which I'm really very fond of it. And my study Bible is an NIV. I've studied with ESV. So I always like to kind of know what was their thinking behind, what's the philosophy, where do they get their contributions from, which way does it lean, what's the input that they put. So I always like to read through those and make sure that, I know what the resources are, what the textual bases are. And then it gives you just a breakdown of what to expect as you get into the Bible. And it's really weird. Sometimes, I know for me, I'll pick up a book and I'll just go to the first chapter and start reading. And there's all this stuff that I used to call fluff that would be in the front that I wouldn't pay attention to until as of late, when I have my daily doctrine book that I read every morning. When I first started reading it, I just went to day one and started reading it. But as I was reading it, I started to realize, wow, this is a little different than what I'm believing, what I'm thinking, of what I'm understanding. And so then I went back to the fluff pages and started realizing who endorses the book, and then I would do a little rabbit trail on them, and then I would look at some of the doctrine, the daily doctrine. I would look a little deep, and then I come to find out, which way that book leans. So that book leans to more of a Calvinistic view, and to me, that's always, as you grow in your walk with the Lord, as you grow as a mature Christian, these kind of things catch your eye, and it just helps you to know that you are growing in discernment and in your spiritual walk. And it just gives you a platform kind of to know where you're studying from. And so that's why now I make sure to really look at the fluff pages, or what I call the fluff pages, because they're there for a reason. It kind of gives you some insight into what you're fixing to read without having to like do what I did as of late and having to flip back. So anyway, enough of the hand movements. So this is just going to tell you about the section headings, the textual footnotes. Boy, that's a blunder, and I'm leaving it in there. But so anyway, as we start in the Old Testament. So in Genesis here, I never really pay attention to the timelines, but I've, as of late, also started paying a little bit more attention, just so I can see where we are in time. Because it's so funny to me sometimes when they're talking about when which king reigned here and which king reigned there, and it's like this BC and this AD, and then the numbers are going backwards in time. They're getting smaller, and then all of a sudden they're getting larger again. That really throws me off. So I just kind of try to get a footprint of, okay, where am I at here? And am I on this side of the cross, or am I on this side of the cross? And so it just really helps me to kind of get a location, of where I'm starting. But this is an actual reading plan. So this is the book introduction. So every book of the Bible has an introduction. Tells you the author, the date, the recipients. It welcomes you to the story of Jesus. It says, the gospel story does not begin with Matthew, but it starts in the very first verses of Genesis. So it helps you to start seeing Jesus throughout the entire Bible, not just where we typically expect to find him in the Gospels. And so this is just the book introduction. And like I said, every book has an introduction, but it's an actual reading plan. So on day one, and it's not dated, which is a nice thing, which means I can open this up on a Monday tomorrow, since I start everything on a Monday. I could literally open this up tomorrow as my day one and then just start reading. And it has a guiding, and then the part that I liked was, so you're going to read Genesis chapters 1 through 3. When you get to the end of your day's reading, then you have your devotional. So you're not having to tote around a second devotional. This literally could be your daily read. I do like to have a devotional. I do like to have some kind of application explained out to me, or maybe take a little bit of somebody else's interpretation. What did they get from that scripture? What did they take in as understanding? Not that I always, flow into that, okay, that's going to be what I understand. But it just, again, gives me a place to start with understanding. And it also gives you these little text boxes here that just is another little something that if you're a new Christian and not really been walking with the Lord very long, and so there's a lot of Christianese that people say and that you may not get right away, and so this just kind of gives a little bit of breakdown of some of that. And the paper is okay. It kind of feels like my NIV study Bible. It's not super shiny, it's not super white, but then again, it's not super creamy either. The one thing that is a little off is how light these little, it's nice and easy on the eyes, but I think it's a little light. It could have been a little bit darker. But overall, the font size is nice. It didn't tell me what font size it was. It does have some footnotes down here. So if you are reading through the Bible and you get little letters and things up beside the word, you can jump down here and it'll kind of give you a brief either explanation or send you to another verse that would help you to understand it more. So it's double columned for the most part, and not a whole bunch of room to take notes, but it's a great for a daily reader if you're wanting to read through the Bible in a year. Let me show you what Psalms looks like. So here's the book of Psalms. Again, it opens up with a little book introduction, and the book of Psalms is divided up into actual 5 books. So it's a book within a book within a book within books. So, it just keeps on going. But so these are written more poetry-like, so that it looks a little bit more quick to read. At least for me, when it's broken up like that, I can read through and a lot of times look over things just because that's an easy read for me. Then over to Proverbs does the same thing, 2 columns, but then it's like verse by verse by verse, which makes it great to kind of read through, but also just as easy to look over. And then back here is the New Testament. I just wanted to give you a quick little view of going into the New Testament. So here's Matthew, another book introduction. Day 269 is when you'll start the New Testament. And like I said, you know, it's not a dated thing. So you could literally start in the New Testament if you're a new Christian and you just want to say, let me just get to Jesus the way that I can really understand him without having to kind of like navigate and look for him in the Old Testament, because I think as a new Christian, sometimes the New Testament is the best place to start because he's already being established. You know, it's talking about Jesus. The first 4 books are talking about Jesus. That is, you know, Jesus. And then the rest is talking about the people who discipled and spent time with him. Well, except for Paul. Paul spent a very brief moment with him, but he has written the majority of the books. So anyway, just a quick little flip through. Just thought I would share that in case you may be interested in a devotional type Bible that's undated, but yet has a reading plan intertwined within, and a daily devotion at the end of every day's reading. You know, again, something that you could take alongside a notebook if you felt the urge to take more notes, since there's not very much note-taking spaces in there. I mean, there's a few blank pages in the back. Then there also in the back here, it's just always, you know, how you can find little articles and resources, which is good. I just like his commentary. So this will be more applicable probably to today's culture. A lot of common sense stuff sometimes. Finding the right identity in our work. Living generously in light of a generous story. Sexual freedom through purity. So it's just some life applications back here. Gracious marriage in a fallen world. So I don't know. I just thought I would share that with you guys. It looked like there was a little concordance back here as well. Or no, that's a reading plan. So you've got your weights and measures, which I don't ever look at that. But another reading plan. So, you know, if you wanted to follow that. But yeah. So that's it. A couple little maps I happen to see back here. Again, it's not a high dollar Bible by any means. It does, you guys, it does feel really good in the hand. I'm not going to lie. I find some of my cheaper Bibles do in reality. But it's a fake leather. Pretty simple. But yeah, so anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you have any questions, I got this on Amazon. It's got 2 little ribbons. But yeah, anyway, I thought I would share. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.